Vancouver real estate sales are down 40% from last year and 1% from last month. And what's more staggering is that sales are down 29% below the 10-year moving average, which means the market really is down in Vancouver. But how does this affect the actual housing prices in Vancouver? Well, I'm going to tell you that in this video, and you aren't going to believe just how much Vancouver real estate values are down off of the peak.
The definitive guide on how to manage your credit. Product, penalty, price, in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right.
All right, so welcome back. Today we're discussing the Vancouver real estate market because the numbers are staggering. Sales are down 40% compared to last year. They're down 1% compared to July. They're down 29% compared to the 10-year moving average, which means that the market is actually significantly down from what it's done over the last 10 years. And that's all playing a major effect on prices. And you're not going to believe how much prices are down compared to the peak of the market, especially in areas like the Fraser Valley real estate market, where it's even worse than the greater Vancouver area. But before we get into all the details, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And if you're thinking about getting into the real estate market, today is the last day to sign up for a homebuyer masterclass. I'm going to put more details on that at the end of this video, but let's put it this way. If you're scared of getting into the market, you don't have to be, but you need to be educated on the market. And I'm going to talk about what we're doing to create that education source to get rid of those fears of buying into a market that's actually going to provide a lot of opportunity in the next couple of years. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the Vancouver real estate market and what's happening. Let's jump right into the headlines. There is Steve Saretsky, another big YouTuber. He is obviously on BNN Bloomberg talking about what's going on in the Vancouver real estate market. But here's the story. The story is that Vancouver house sales have slumped in August as higher rates shift the market. And there's no surprise here. Higher rates have shifted the market, not necessarily across Canada, but definitely in the markets that saw the biggest upticks as a result of the low interest rates during the pandemics. And there's some really interesting numbers here. A total of 1,870 property sales were registered in the greater Vancouver region. That is really, really low considering how big of a market the Vancouver market is. And compared to the 10-year average for August, the sales volume was down 29.2%. So what that means is if you took the last 10 years in August, 30% less homes were sold in August than is typically sold in August. That is another big decline. So people are definitely stepping out of the market. Maybe there's just some real estate fatigue. Maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff associated with higher interest rates, but people are pretty much putting the brakes on buying homes in that Vancouver real estate market. And this is no surprise with the inflationary pressure that's come up. We have to expect that this is going to happen. But what's really interesting is when we start to get into the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver's numbers, you can see August numbers were down about 40%. Last year, there was 3,152 homes sold. And then we get down into what I like to look at as the heartbeat of a market, and that's the composite benchmark price. And what you notice is this composite benchmark price is $1,180,000, which represents a 7.4% increase over August of 2021. So if you bought a house in August of 2021, you're still up in the Vancouver market. This is unlike Toronto, where you're pretty much flat. But here's where it gets interesting, because the question isn't what's it like compared to August of last year. The question is, what are real estate prices compared to the peak? So let's jump in and take a look at April numbers, because this was the peak of the Vancouver real estate market. We're going to scroll down to the same section of the news release. What you can see is that in April, the composite price was $1.374 million. So in other words, we are down 13.8% compared to April of this year, which means we've seen almost a 14% drop in less than 5 months, which at this rate, if prices continue to drop at the same pace, we could see housing prices in Vancouver down 28% year over year when we get to April. So this is really, really interesting numbers and really interesting data. Now, will it get to that point? Well, we've seen the Bank of Canada increase interest rates once again, 0.75% this week. We're seeing further downward pressure. We've got the old 1%, 10% rule with respect to a 1% increase in interest rates provides about a 10% headwind in real estate values, whether you believe that rule or not. I know there's another Canadian YouTuber that doesn't believe it, but the numbers are playing out pretty accurately right now. But what's really interesting is I want to show you what Steve Karish says. He's out of the Fraser Valley. He's one of the best real estate YouTubers in Canada, bar none. He pulls no punches. He shows direct stats, but he's got a really interesting situation right now where he has a property that sold in April And the buyers, for whatever reason, had to walk away. So now he's had to relist that property, and it is selling for substantially less than what those April buyers bought it for, which means we have a single piece of data, a single data point, a property that was sold in April being resold again today. And that tells us a really interesting picture, because instead of looking at benchmark or looking at a whole bunch of different properties, we can see what a single property sold for back then versus what it sold for now. So I'm gonna let him tell you about this. Go and check out the link in the description below to his video as well.
In this particular case, the new selling price was $329,000 less than it was just in March. And believe it or not, on this particular home, that represents a 20% decline in the market, which on a side note is almost exactly in line with the 1%, 10% rule that we often speak about in mortgage financing and house prices.
So that's really interesting. A $329,000 drop on a single property, which equates to a 20% reduction in that Fraser Valley area. So what we know is that the Vancouver real estate market has fared pretty well, all things considered, but the outlying areas of the lower mainland of BC are definitely suffering a little bit more than that downtown area of Vancouver. And as you get further away from the center of the GVA, you're starting to get more and more impact on prices, which I find really, really interesting. Now, what this all leads to is a conversation around fear of getting into the market. And here's what Warren Buffett says. Warren Buffett always says, and I'm paraphrasing here, is buy when others are fearful and sell when people are greedy. And what happened over the last 2 years is everyone got greedy and everybody bought. And that was the wrong time to buy. You want to buy when people are getting fearful. And while we may be in the process of catching a little bit of a falling knife here, as prices go down, we're getting more and more opportunities to buy at lower prices, which means if you're somebody who's looking at getting into the market in the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, you should be getting yourself prepared for that process right now. And the better prepared you are, the less fear you're going to have with respect to buying a home. So what I did is I went and I looked all over the internet. I looked all through the bookstores, and I tried to find a really good source of information for home buyers, and there just isn't a ton out there. So I created what's called the Homebuyer Masterclass. This is a class. It's designed to be modular. In other words, you take the information and you learn it as you need it. So whatever stage you're in, you pull the piece of information for that stage, and it's designed to make you even more educated than some of the best realtors in the industry. So you have an upper hand when it comes to buying your next property, and you'll be able to do it without fear, knowing your numbers, knowing exactly what you're getting into, and knowing that if you're making a long-term buying decision, you're going to be in a good place. So like I said in the intro to this video, this is the last day to sign up for this cohort. We're going to basically cut off the signups today for at least the next 3 months. And if you're a founding member of the course, you're going to be able to get in at a very, very, very low price compared to what we're going to sell it for in the future. By the way, this first go around, we're selling it at a price that pretty much only covers the cost of the platform and developing the content. So it is a really, really good deal. Plus, you're going to get lots of interaction with me via Zoom calls and a one-on-one call, which is only available normally to people who are direct clients. So if you are in the process of buying a home in the next 3 months to 2 years, this is definitely going to be the sharpest tool in your arsenal when it comes to buying a home and taking on that process. So if you want to sign up, go to homebuyermasterclass.ca. And as always, if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video, and we'll see you on the very next one. Cheers.